I made $5 million at the age of 32, and in this video I'm gonna explain exactly how I did this. And I'm gonna take you through the exact journey in terms of the mistakes I made and the big secrets that really actually allowed me to be successful. And some of the things I'm gonna share at the end are absolutely wild that really made a difference. Before we get into things, I'm a former failed personal trainer who then became an estate agent who's now sold over $11 million online in total. When I was young, I was overweight. So when I was like 17, 18, I used to play a lot of sports, but I was trying to get into shape. And I got into the gym. I had a huge passion for fitness, and I actually qualified as a personal trainer when I was 18 years old. I got a job working as a PT for the gym group in the UK, which is a big, like, cheap, low-cost gym, 24 hours, one of the first ones in the UK in Guildford in 2008. And there I actually was working for free to have the ability to then train clients in the gym. And I actually really struggled. Firstly, because I didn't really look like a trainer. B, I didn't really know what I was doing. And C, I had absolutely no marketing and sales skills, which meant I really struggled. I had some clients, I did okay, but I didn't really kill the game. And the problem with that is because I just didn't know how. And the reality is, from that experience of struggling with being a personal trainer, I felt like a complete failure. I felt like I let my family down, I felt like I'd let myself down, and I felt like I'd basically ruined my life at the age of like 18. From there, I then went and actually became an estate agent because, like, what else do I do? All my friends were getting decent jobs, and a friend of mine at the time had got a job as an estate agent. I was like, he had a decent car, he got to wear a suit. I was like, seems okay. Maybe it's just what I should do. So I went to go and get a job as an estate agent. And from then onwards, my career blossomed in that industry, and used the apostrophe because it blossomed doing something I didn't want to do. Because deep down throughout my entire life, all I wanted to do was have time freedom, location freedom, financial freedom, to have the options to do what I wanted on every single day basis. But the reality is now I was actually imprisoned in a system. And what was actually happening, I was having to work from 8 till 6:30 p.m. Monday through Saturday, 6 days a week. So I know what hard looks like. But this is actually, in hindsight, one of the best things that ever happened to me. Because now I actually understand what hard work looks like. I understand how fucking much you can really push yourself in terms of a work perspective. And I learned a lot of core skills from my time in property. But one of the things that happened to me towards the end of my time there is I very much felt imprisoned. Because I felt like I was wasting my life in the four walls of an estate agency and Walked on Thames in Surrey. And I wanted freedom, I wanted to go and do bigger things, and I knew I could do that. And at the time, I was literally flogging myself to death. I was working 60 to 70 hours a week, maybe making £3,000 a month after tax. I couldn't go on holiday when I wanted. I couldn't really buy anything I wanted. I had an okay life, but the last thing I ever wanted was okay. I wanted exceptional, and to get exceptional, I was willing to be the exception and do some different weird things where people thought I was a complete crazy nut job at the beginning. Now, the career I had in that estate agent, many people would actually aspired for. By the time I left, I pushed myself up to a branch manager. I was earning £70,000 a year, but I was still bottlenecked and capped. Because above me in this corporate system was a bunch of old women in like an old wives club who I could never actually progress past. And I look back now, even what the managing director earns and what she earns now wouldn't be enough for the type of lifestyle I actually wanted. And I knew deep down I had to go and do my own thing. And this is also, we have to understand in your brain. I had managed to learn and develop the skills of my brain to understand that our brain is programmed for safety, but for me to go and achieve the things that I wanted to do, I was gonna have to take a risk to get the reward. Now, risk is complete opposite of safety of what our brain wants, and I have to overcome that. And you watching this right now are probably afraid of something in your life because you're not willing to take the risk because your brain's programmed for safety. Now, whilst I was in the estate agent's job, I had a huge amount of frustration building up. I was trying to escape, I was trying to figure my way out. And I tried various different side hustles. I tried Forex trading, I lost about 10 grand. I then set up a CBD business, I lost about 5 grand doing that. And then lastly, I saw what was happening with social media. I was starting to get myself in good shape. I saw social media coming along. I was like, this is the thing. I started to go into Gary Vaynerchuk podcasts, Grant Cardone podcasts, and I used to drive around at like Esher in Surrey in my Mercedes and just listen to these over and over and over again. And this is really where the ethos of my brain came in terms of learning how to market and learning how to sell. It was mainly from Gary Vee at the beginning, also from Grant Cardone, because I was like, traffic, sales, and I can figure out the rest from then onwards. And this is where, like, everyone now has a much bigger opportunity in terms of to get to the next level and to get freedom. Because back then in 2016, 2017, there wasn't a version of me on the internet putting on how to build a coaching business. There wasn't anyone who I could follow in the footsteps who'd done the thing I wanted to do. I was trying to figure it all out on my own, and I got there in the end, but I took a very hard path. I'm gonna share some of these things in this video. Now, in terms of getting the freedom I wanted, which was the time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom, there was 3 key steps I took to get them. One is I got in really good shape and I got shredded for a photo shoot. Now, if you're a normal person, and particularly in like 2016, and you do a photo shoot in the gym and you're shaving, getting tanned, getting oiled up, this is a very weird experience. And the first time you stand in front of a load of men in your pants, oiled up and have photos taken of you, it seems like a bit of like a gay porno shoot, and it wasn't. It was just a very, very weird experience. And I get Lewis to put some of the photos on screen right now. You can almost see the fear in my eyes of how weird and awkward this felt. I was also about 82 kilos at the time, which shows how much smaller I was now, so I'm about 103. So it's probably about 20 kilos of muscle I've added in the last 5 years. But it's an example in terms of me putting myself in uncomfortable scenarios and like allowing myself to grow. Because the first time you do anything, you're gonna be afraid. First time you make a podcast, it's gonna suck. First time you make a YouTube video, it's gonna suck. First time you do a photo shoot, you're gonna be nervous and afraid. And if you're in that position right now, good. Lean into the fear because you have to embrace it because it's what's gonna get you to the next level. So once I had done the photo shoot, I talked about the experience, I documented that, and that gave a case study of like, here I am, I'm in good shape, I know what I'm doing. The second thing I did was then I had to learn how to get traffic online and get attention, because the most important thing is that best known beats best. And back then, in some respects, it was easier because I could just post a photo of myself like topless with abs and I'd get a lot of engagement and reach. Whereas now we have to be a little bit more complicated in terms of the type of content we make. However, it's actually easier now to go super viral. And secondly, online coaching is much more consumer friendly, as in it's more normal for someone to pay someone on the internet to help them to get in great shape. So it's actually easier than ever to grow your business right now than it was 5-6 years ago. Now, once I had the traffic from social media, I was posting content regularly. To date, I posted over 7,000 posts on Instagram. And back then I was posting 3 times a day and working full time. So don't tell me you don't have time. In 2018, I was competing. So I was training twice a day, working full time 60 hours a week. I also had a full-time relationship and I managed to function and actually run a really successful business. So if you have time and something's a priority to you, it will happen. Now, the third part of this 3-step process is, once we had the traffic, I had to ask people to fucking work with me. So I would message new people, people would message me, I'd start conversations, and I would actually begin to sell them within the chat, and then eventually getting them into calls further down the line, which we'll come on to. And this was all part of the process in terms of growing and developing my business. But if I knew what I knew now, it would have been so much easier because I made so many huge mistakes, which I'm going to come on to. So 2018, when I was still working full-time and competing and training twice a day, I was making around 5K a month. And from here is actually when I hired my first mentor. So I worked with a guy called Mark Coles who helped get me from being a estate agent to basically going full-time. And he taught me in terms of how to run a low-ticket program. I then built myself one of the biggest low-ticket programs in the world called Shred and 8. Now, in hindsight, this was the exact opposite thing of what I should have done, because I should have gone and traded high ticket and have made way more money, and I'll explain why. Our Shred and 8 program, we were charging about £47. I was getting about 1,000 people every 8 weeks into it. I thought I was killing it. Now, what happened is I was starting to get people who wanted to work with me one-to-one, and what I did is I was massively undercharging for this. So when I first started my business, I was actually selling Word document PDFs for £40 a month. It would take me like an hour to do one check-in. It was incredibly inefficient, and you don't know what you don't know, right? That then progressed, and I think I was selling 12-week programs for £150. And then we went into the Shred and 8 model. We're doing the 8-week transformations. Now, from there, I then remember having some sales training with a friend of mine, and I sold my first person for £500 for 8 weeks, sitting in Starbucks in Kingston. I nearly fell off my chair. I couldn't believe it. Now, what happened after this is wild. One of the guys who bought my 8-week program at £47 a month then signed up for a 12-month coaching program with me, and he ended up paying £9,000 over 12 months. So this is a guy who's paying £47 a month, then paid £9,000. I was like, well, it's much easier to get more people paying higher prices than to get less people paying with a huge volume and having loads of problems. So I was like, let's just get more of these people. And that's exactly what we did. We blew up my fitness business by then going into high ticket space, by having higher price programs, better quality clients, who would then get better results because they had more skin in the game. Now, the reason why low ticket coaching programs don't work very well is because you have a huge amount of friction to scale. There's a lot of complexity and the margin's not high. The only time this ever works if someone has a huge audience and a huge amount of traffic, and then I would still argue that if you did a high ticket coaching program, you would make a lot more money. If you also look now in particular in 2024, people can get a lot of these things they want for free on the internet. If they go into ChatGPT, type 2,200 calorie fat loss diet, it will give you a fat loss diet. People want accountability and to work one-to-one with a pro, and that's really what we need to focus on and what I focused on doing that really allowed my business to blow up. Now, 25th February 2019 is the date I left my full-time job. And that is when I made one of the biggest commitments to myself. So in terms of my career as an estate agent, I remember that you would get paid 50% commission if you handed in your notice and you left. Obviously, I don't want to work for half price. So I remember going in the day I got paid, I got my stuff, and I'm like, I'm leaving. I went home, my area manager called me and she's like, you've got to come back. Like, you can't just leave. I was like, no, don't. And I just left. And then that's when the moment dawned on me. The moment that I could do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, with whoever I wanted, as long as I worked very, very hard, backed myself, I would never have to listen to anyone else again. I could have complete autonomy and complete freedom, and I broke myself out of the mold and the matrix from where I was. And from that point onwards, I have never stopped working to continue to work towards my freedom, because I know what it's like to be imprisoned in a box. And if you're in that situation right now, whether you're a personal trainer in a gym or you're in a 9-to-5 job, you have the ability to change your situation, because I did the exact thing you want to do. So from 25th February to 2019, fast forward to 2020, my business was probably doing about 25K a month at that point. And then I scaled because I went to a mastermind in the US with a guy called Vince Del Monte, and I met one of my best friends, Frank Blanken. At the time, I thought it was really big shit. So I came in, Louis Vuitton scarf on, thinking I was nuts, like a lot of online coaches I see now. I look back now, I think, what a douchebag. Is what it is. I might even try and find a photo from it. And I met one of my friends, Frank, who was making like $1 million a month. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm not that big a deal. But when I came into that mastermind, that was like what 7-Figure Scaling System is now. 7-Figure Scaling Systems now is the #1 mastermind in the world to help trainers do what I've done. And when I came into that, I saw the level everyone was operating at. I was like, holy shit, okay, cool, I can grow here. And I came in and I executed so quickly on things I was told to do. People thought I was autistic, what's wrong with this guy? And I literally exploded because I was just knocking things off, executing super, super fast. And I went from 20, 30K, by the end of that year, I think I was doing 120,000. And I'll explain some of the pivotal things that happened during that process. And part of that is obviously when COVID started to come in. So the market was naturally strengthening anyway. And the summer when COVID happened is wild, because here's a true story. Not many people were running Facebook ads because people were worried about the world going down. I also found about a new software system called Direct Heroes, which is a bit like a format of ManyChat. It's like an automated messenger chat system. So I was running DM ads for 50p a lead to an automated messenger service. People didn't really know about this stuff back then, and just blasting traffic. I had no idea what I was doing. And we were signing up 7 to 10 clients a day. And at one point in July 2020, we had so many clients coming on board, I had to hire 7 coaches in a week. It was nuts. And it was anarchy. It was so many things went wrong in terms of what I did in growing the business. I look back now, I'm it was so dumb. And at the time we were scaling so quickly, I actually set up another business called Closing Force, which we still have, which is a remote sales team. And they were closing, they were taking 30 sales calls a day. At our peak, our fitness business was doing 80 sales calls a day. And that just gives some context in terms of how much volume you can really do in terms of building a business. But some of the big lessons I learned from that phase was, here's one. I didn't know what a payment dispute was. So on Stripe, I had loads of payment disputes from just degenerates taking disputes because people do. I didn't know you could actually appeal against them, and I was losing money on every single one of those. So I probably lost 10, 20 grand from not even doing anything with those, because you don't know what you don't know, right? No one had told me what payment disputes are. And this is some of the funny stories I look back in terms of lessons of my God, this all went wrong. And from that point of getting to about 120K, the following year, we continued to grow to 150 to 200 and then eventually 300,000. But some big mistakes also happened to me in that phase, where I even had things like a payment gateway shut down that cost me a £250,000. I had 25K a month of recurring revenue on that. And that was all because I didn't take advice from a company I was working with who need to deal with this problem. So if anyone in your business ever tells you you have a problem you need to deal with, you need to deal with it really, really quickly, because people aren't probably warning you about something for no reason. And the most critical thing you need to protect in your business is the inflow of money. So Facebook ad accounts, social media accounts, and then payment processors. Now, our fitness business at its very peak, we hit 1,300 high-ticket clients. We were monstrous. We still have 600 high-ticket clients right now, and that's with me having zero involvement in the business. The reason for that right now is my passion for fitness and teaching that personally has gone. My huge fulfillment, as you can see from these videos, is helping other people carve their own path to financial freedom, doing the exact things I have done. And the reality with this is that you have the ability to do the same thing I have done by modeling the systems and some of the ways I've basically handled myself. And I'm going to show you some of the secrets of how I've done this over the last few years right now. Now, the #1 thing that holds everyone back is arrogance. And secondly, they don't ask for help. So I've personally spent over $300,000 on mentorships, self-development. To date, now at 34, we've sold over $11 million of programs. Because the most valuable thing I have is my skills, my information that I personally have, and also now the network of people I know. Because this makes me a very useful and valuable person because the resources personally in my head and the connections I have. But a lot of this has been coming from investing in myself for help. And how do you identify who you need to help you? Is you find the person who's done the thing you want to do. And that's continually the thing I'm doing all the time, is thinking who, not how. So what's the biggest problem you have in your business right now? Who's the one person who can solve the problem? Stop trying to figure things out yourself. Find the person who's done the thing, pay them money, they will solve the problem, you will move very quickly, you get to the next level. Because the most valuable thing to understand as a concept, they print money, they don't print time. The opportunity cost is huge. And when it comes to getting help, the best thing I would say in terms of getting help, there's a couple of key things to look at. Has the person done the thing I want to do? Have they got other people huge amounts of success with that? Now, my huge passion now is helping other trainers have huge amounts of financial freedom to do what they want and provide for their future families. And none of this would have come about without one of my star clients, Antoine Blanco, who was the very first person I started a mastermind with. So he actually personally asked me to coach him before I began in this. I didn't even think about it. I agreed to help him, he paid me, and I was like, okay, all cool, let's go, well, I'm all in. And I helped him explode his business. He's now doing $400,000 or $500,000 a month in B2B space, now hoping coaches as well. A very, very gifted young man, but he started the snowball for this, and to date we've helped over 100 trainers achieve the first 6 figures and 5 trainers hit their first 7 figures, using the exact systems in my own fitness business, the exact experience I've had, and giving you the shortcuts. And some of the biggest lessons I've learned for me to get to where I want to be: don't spend money recklessly on stupid stuff you shouldn't be spending on. Invest money in your skills, invest money in your team, invest money in the infrastructure of your business, and that will compound for you over a period of time, exactly like your reputation. And if you go all in, you can achieve anything you want. You just need to make a couple of key decisions, and you're 2 steps away from getting to the next level. And if you want help in terms of getting to the next level, to get to maybe $5 million net worth, $10 million net worth, or maybe hitting your first $250K a year, $1 million year, then you can hit a link below this video to find out how we can help you. Or if not, check out all the other videos on this channel, because I'm literally giving away all the knowledge I have for completely free. If you took value and inspiration from this, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel.